Hey everybody. Hey, welcome to my page and my video. My name is Tiffany, and I just want to share an experience that I went through. Still am kind of going through. Now, excuse my background. I'll start off with that. It's really big. I'm not using my phone. I'm using my computer, and it just captures a lot. And if my eyes aren't looking at the camera, it's because I'm looking at the screen. So I just want to let you all know that now. So I will start off with my dad passed away 2 years ago, and it was very sudden. It was a blood clot that he got in his lung, so he wasn't able to breathe, and he passed away in a time that nobody expected. So I'll start off with, I've always loved my dad. I've always thought that we've had a good relationship, even like as a child. I was a daddy's girl. I love my dad because my mom was pretty strict, but my dad, he was really cool. I would have tantrums. Like when I used to always want to be spoiled. My mom would never spoil me, but my dad would kind of give me what I want, so I would not have a tantrum because I used to really be dramatic. Like I would just hold my breath and pass out, like crying so bad I couldn't even breathe. And my mom, she didn't know what to do. But when the doctor told her it was okay to whip me and I'll get out of that, he said it's okay to whip her. But my dad, he wanted to avoid that. He just wanted to give me what I wanted so I wouldn't get into those situations. Even growing up, we would always play outside together. My dad was always interacting with me and my siblings. And there was a point, my mom always teases me about this. One time her and my dad were arguing, and I came and I told her, and I don't know, I had a little accent when I was younger, like a country accent. I don't know if I'm going to demonstrate right now, but I basically told her, I was like, Mommy, do you love Daddy? And she was like, yes, I love Daddy. And I was like, because the man in the movie, and I'm talking about my mom's video, their wedding video, the man in the movie said, you better love that husband. And I said, or else one day he'll be my husband. And she always teases me about that. I really did love my dad. So, we had a really good childhood. And then growing up, like middle school, high school, around that time, it was like around high school, him and my mom split up. They never divorced, but they did split up. So he moved out. I live in Germantown, and he moved out into Gaithersburg, which is really close by, like 15 minutes drive. So I was still able to see him. Me and my siblings were still able to see him. And there's four of us. For you, those of you who don't know, I have my older sister. I have a brother who's right under me, and then I have my younger sister, and we're all about a year apart. So none of us had cars at this time when we were in high school. None of us had cars. So my dad would always be the one to come over and take us to the store, maybe once or twice a week, sometimes even 3 times. So he would always come over and take us to the store and sometimes just be at the house and spend time with us, even though my dad really liked electronics. So he always had a new phone coming, or a tablet, or whatever he had. So sometimes he would come and he'd be on his tablet, and we'd kind of be like, hey, spend time with us. And he's like, whatever. So, but either way, he was always around. I could never say that I never seen my dad enough. So I got my first car after college, or after high school. So within my first couple years of college, I got my first car. And we didn't need my dad to come around as much because I was able to drive myself around and also drive some of my siblings. So we didn't see him as much. We still saw him like maybe I could say once a week, sometimes twice a week, we would still see him. But it was very interesting because the week that he died, we all had the chance to see him. And that's actually it wasn't a common thing that we all would have the chance to see him at the same time. Because even in college, my sister, my older sister, she was in University of Maryland, and she was living on campus. So she wasn't always around to see him, but we were all home at this time. Maybe she had graduated already. And it was a Sunday. My dad was over at the house, and my siblings, they were talking to him, and he said something that was interesting. He was like, if the Lord would take me even now, I'd be okay. I'd be fine because I know my kids, I know where they're going, and I know where I'm going when I die. We're all going to heaven because we all have a relationship with the Lord. And that was interesting that he even said that, and that was on a Sunday. And then a few days later, my younger sibling, Jennifer, she needed a ride home. And so she called my dad, and he took her home. But they also stopped and they got something to eat. And, they had time to talk and bond. And then for me, it was very interesting because I had came home, and I looked down, I'm in my car, I'm looking down, then I look up and I see my dad's car right next to mine. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm just here to get the mail. So I went to his car and I was just talking to him for a little while. And it was just, I don't know, it felt really special. For some reason, it just felt special talking to him that day. So then it was a Friday. I was at work, and he had been over at the house with my mom and my sister and my brother. Me and my other sister were at work. So he was at the house relaxing and spending time with my family. And then he said, okay, I'm going to leave, but I'll be back. So he actually never made it back because we got a knock on the door that Friday night, and it was the police, and they were like, Milton Fletcher, you all know Milton Fletcher? We was like, yeah. And they told us that he was deceased. And we just couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe it because when you get that kind of news and you just seen him, it's just so unreal. So we were devastated though. Like I was on the floor crying, like, oh my gosh, like just crying to God. Like, really? So we go to the hospital and I see it's him. And honestly, we all had the hope that when we got to the hospital, it wouldn't have been him. It would have been somebody else. We said, no, it has to be somebody else. It can't be him. But we go to the hospital and sure enough, it is him. And I don't know if everyone gets this feeling, but when you see a person who passed away and they're close to you, you just wish, wake up, just get up. Like if they could have just some more life in them. But yeah, he was gone for good. And it was just so interesting because it did take us some time to kind of become true that he, like for us to just identify, yeah, he did pass away. But even with that, even by the time we had the funeral, like it was already a testimony in place because we had a level of peace about it. And God gave us that peace. And it was pivotal that we all had that time, that week that he passed away, that we all had that time to sit and talk with him and bond with him. Because already that was an unusual thing for all of us to have that. And we could just see that God had prepared us for it. Even my dad, the comment he said, all of us having time. And it just felt special when we all had that time. And we can see that God was already working even in this. I had always thought that my dad would pass away. Well, he was a smoker. He used to smoke cigarettes for a long time, actually. My whole life, maybe the last year he was alive, maybe he had cut back. But he had always been a smoker. So as a child, I had always thought that if he died, he would have died from cancer. And, cancer is not a sweet death. It's pretty painful. People have to suffer. So I was just thankful to God that even when he passed away, like it was quick. It was a quick death. Maybe took him a few minutes, 5, 10, 15 minutes, because he just couldn't breathe. But either way, it was a little uncomfortable. It wasn't painful, and it wasn't, didn't have any huge financial costs with that. Like cancer would have took a lot of our money. But I even thank God for the way that he passed away, because I had actually always imagined it would have been worse. But just seeing, even beforehand, how God was at work in our lives was just so essential to how we were able to move on through this process even afterward. So now I can stand today and I can say, with his death, like I don't get sad when I talk about him. I don't even really miss him because I'm just so at peace with God's plan, with what God had put in order. So now if I look back, I say, yeah, I think about him, but I wouldn't change anything. I know it made me a stronger person, and it really, now it really changed how I look at time. Like instead of looking at the past, I look at the future or the present, because I know God has so much ahead of me. So I can't say, oh, I miss somebody, because that's looking behind. But I'm just so at peace with God's perfect plan for my life, and that God was with me and he's comforting me. And even Romans 28, it says all things work together for the good of those who love God. And I know with that experience, God, everything we go through, God has a plan and a way for us to vent. And when you recognize his presence, it's so much easier for you to heal. If you're healing on your own, you kind of feel empty, like something was taken away. But I don't feel like anything was taken away. I know at some point we all pass away in life. So I just thank God for the way he did it, that I could feel his presence with me. And that happening has changed our relationship with God. It changed my viewpoint in life. It just really matured me, because when you cope, you have to cope the correct way. There's a good and a bad way. And the Bible does say that Jesus, or that the Lord always goes before us and prepares the way for us. And he'll never leave us or forsake us. So me knowing that God already had prepared that for me, and I could see even the week before, God was preparing me for what was about to happen, and I didn't notice. So I still thank God. I thank God for everything, his perfect plan, and that my dad, he didn't suffer. We didn't have to suffer, because we knew that God was with us. And all of my siblings, like, people say that they've never seen anyone heal like from a death the way my family has. And it's not that we're special ourselves. It's just when you really can see God's plan at work, it's God who's special. So it really, this event helped me trust God even more. It had to happen this way, and I wouldn't have it happen any other way, because I know my dad, he's still living in heaven. So my encouragement for you all is, whatever you're going through, it's hard sometimes. I know it's hard to deal with things when you feel like you're on your own, but just look and see how God has already gone before you and prepared you for what you're about to go through. Even Job in the Bible, he lost everything he had. He lost his family. He lost his home. He lost all his 7 children, or I think it was 7 children, all in one day. His cattle, his money, everything good he had, he lost it, and he just had himself, and even his health he lost, and he felt like he just wanted to die. But he never gave up on God, and he never gave up on God, and that was able to help him keep living. And in the end, God rewarded him even more so than what he had before. So we just have to be open to looking at how God is working. Everything you go through, God is always working. You really just have to have an open heart to receive it, and, just be open to him. So that's my encouragement for you all. And I will be back with more videos. You all will see more of me with encouraging words for you all. So I just pray you all have a blessed night, and just keep God in mind. He's always there, and you're always on his heart. So I love you guys. Have a good night.